the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way.
Oh, the Jesus way
Is the way of peace.
is the way of peace.
Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me. Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword
Gonna beat my sword
into a plow.
into a plow.
Gonna beat my sword into a plow. Christ is king in my life now. May his peace begin with me.
The ways that make for peace are close to the heart of members of the Church of the Brethren, and especially Merle Forney. He was raised in the Hanover Church of the Brethren of the Southern Pennsylvania District. He has had an interesting peace journey, which included a stint in the Army Ski Patrol Unit. Today, he's an advocate for assisting youth to express their thoughts about peace on artistic murals. Hello, I'm Ed Groff, and welcome to Brethren Voices. We're coming to you from the studios of Cross Keys Village, the Brethren home community, located in New Oxford, Pennsylvania. And if you wish to find New Oxford on the map, it's about 12 or 15 miles east of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. My wife and I are in Brethren Volunteer Service, and it's been just a wonderful experience. And prior to coming here, we were able to meet with Merle Forney and his wife Margaret up in the very unique area of Amesbury, Massachusetts. We had never had the opportunity of visiting any of the New England states, and found that that was really a remarkable experience. Today we're going to share an interview that we had done previously with Merle Forney, as he showed us Amesbury, Massachusetts, and some of the murals that are located in that community. And these are murals that involve children expressing their thoughts artistically on murals that are displayed in the community in front of schools, other organizations, churches, and religious organizations. Merle, if we take a look at a map, where do we find Amesbury, Massachusetts?
Well, if you look at that map and you look at the upper northeast corner of Massachusetts, you'll see that New Hampshire is the next state. And so Amesbury borders on the southern part of New Hampshire. And we're 7 miles in from the Atlantic Ocean. So it's a pretty good location if you like to get to the ocean every once in a while, to the beaches, or the mountains are not that far apart. And actually, you can get to Maine in about half an hour from passing through this narrow section of New Hampshire to be in Maine. So it's a good location.
Merle, you've been a supporter of Brethren Voices over the years. We're now in our 10th year of producing Brethren Voices, and it's great having you tell us about your involvement with Kids as Peacemakers.
I appreciate very much the opportunity to tell the story of Kids as Peacemakers, because I have found that a lot of people who never heard of it before think it's a pretty great program. And so if we can spread the word and get other people in other parts of the country involved, that would be great.
I've noticed that it's not a place where you'll find a congregation of the Church of the Brethren.
No, no. You'll find that very few people in New England, at least in my experience, have ever heard of the Church of the Brethren. But we are part of the historic peace churches that are composed of the Brethren and the Quakers and the Mennonites. Not that we all believe the same thing, but we all believe that it's immoral to get involved in killing other people. We're very much opposed to the violence that we are living with in America today.
Can you tell us about your involvement in the Church of the Brethren growing up in Hanover, Pennsylvania?
Well, my parents were members of the Church of the Brethren, and we lived a block away from the church in Hanover, Pennsylvania. And my mother was a Sunday school teacher, and she taught Sunday school for 39 years. And so I was expected and wanted to go to church every Sunday. It was an event. I remember my early life when Christmas gifts were composed of an orange and a little box of candy. And that was the way that the church celebrated Christmas in those days, at least our church. And being raised in a family that believed in peace, it just became part of my life to be a peacemaker. And so it wasn't a great transition from what I learned as a kid and as a young adult. And I have been continually a churchgoer ever since my beginning days.
Merle had an interesting journey of peace. He was raised in the Hanover, Pennsylvania Church of the Brethren, and during World War II, he found himself involved in a ski patrol unit in the Army out in Colorado.
Well, I graduated from high school, public high school, in 1942, right in the midst of the U.S. involvement in World War II. And with my peace background, it was a very difficult question about whether I would go into the Army or become a conscientious objector. My parents were pretty liberal in that they said, it's my decision, I have to live with it, it's my life. And so I reluctantly decided to go into the Army. And so I was inducted in the spring of 1943 and was sent out to Fort Riley, Kansas for my basic training. And a lot of kids from Hanover were in this group. By the time our basic training was completed, the Army decided that they had all of the armored infantry battalions that they needed. And so some of us were sent out to Camp Hale, Colorado to join the ski troops, the 10th Mountain Division it really was called. And that was kind of an elite corps and composed basically of kids in college in the East Coast and also in the West Coast. And so you had to have 2 recommendations from the National Ski Patrol to get into the Army. And the Army took care of that for us. They just marked us volunteers. And so those of us who never had skied before were taught skiing, or at least to stay up on our skis upright. One day they took us up the side of the mountain and released us, and it was hilarious because guys were going into trees and all over the place. But I had difficulty because of the altitude. The camp was at 9,500 feet, and we used to climb up to 13,000 feet. And when we were on division-wide problems, and I was usually in the back end, and I couldn't keep up because the front end would get up over the mountain, and then it was kind of like a whiplash for the back end to pick up the speed. And I had to drop out of the formation many times. And so finally they came to me and they said one day, we have too many, well, first of all, you've got a problem, and we're going to put you in limited service. So I was put in limited service, and I worked at the camp guardhouse there in Camp Hale, censoring mail incoming and outgoing for the prisoners. And then the division went to to Texas and then on to Italy and fought in the war in Italy. But I went down to Fort Logan, Colorado, and then I was told that they have too many people in limited service, so would you accept a discharge? And it took me about 5 seconds to say, yeah, I think I'll do that. And I did. And then I went on and got my college degree in business administration at what is now Drexel University in Philadelphia.
It was during a home visit to his family and his congregation that someone asked him a question that he's remembered ever since.
When I was on my first furlough and I went to church in my uniform, a rather elderly man who had the plain dress of the plain people said to me, "Are you a Christian?" And that pretty well was a hurtful situation for me because I considered myself a Christian, and I think my life has shown that I am a Christian. So that was a painful experience, though.
Merle, you're the founder of an organization which is now today known as Kids as Peacemakers. So can you tell us about that?
After college, I went back to my hometown and had a job with the Hanover Shoe Company in the office, and I became a member of the Junior Chamber of Commerce and served as president of the local chapter my second year in the program, and learned a lot of things that helped me in later years. For example, we had window painting contests for Halloween, and merchants downtown would give up their windows for a week or so to see these displays created by kids. And that was in my background when we came up here to Amesbury. I learned that in Massachusetts, May is Peace Month, and because of this background I had of working with merchants and getting them to let us use their windows, I came up with the idea that wouldn't it be great if we could support this effort to recognize Peace Month by getting every church and religious organization in Newburyport and the public schools involved in this program. And we were very successful in that. And we never got all of them involved, but it continued to spread out a bit and to other neighboring communities, and then the National Exchange Club got involved because two of their members were interested in the prevention of child abuse. And so I joined them, and they have supplied the sheets of plywood for the last 7 or 8 years.
ABC reporter Jay Shadler did a story about Kids as Peacemakers and gave us permission to share that with you.
Hello, I'm Jay Shadler. For years, I have traveled the country and the globe in search of human interest stories for ABC's news magazines 2020 and Primetime. Now, right in my own home territory on the North Shore of Massachusetts, an idea is germinating and it's beginning to spread across the country. A movement for and by children to promote peace. And it involves the planning, production, and posting of peace murals on schools and churches and social organizations around the greater Newburyport, Massachusetts area. The founder of the local project is Merle Forney.
The Dove Campaign is a coalition of individuals and organizations dedicated to creating child-friendly communities. We urge all adults to think seriously about ways in which they can make these communities safer and happier places for children to live and to grow and to thrive.
Children in community schools and churches and social organizations paint peace murals on 4x8 sheets of plywood upon which the murals are displayed all around the community. The whole process of peaceful play begins with the brainstorming of ideas.
Who wrote peace in which languages? Yes.
I have like characters and then the non-characters.
Okay.
Characters are cool.
So you've got French, you've got Spanish, you've got Dutch.
Let's do Braille.
Braille.
No, Hebrew.
That's
Hebrew.
really cool.
Hebrew.
No, Braille.
Hebrew. So what order should they go in?
I
We
have
should
a
do
question.
English first. We'll do English first just so that we know what we're saying, right?
Young people must come to a consensus as to the designs of their murals. They must then accept each other's contributions and talents, of course.
Yes!
That's me.
Is this you? Did you do that?
Yeah.
That is so cool. Isn't that cool? I'm not sure if, Rachel, maybe you can take a pencil and try and draw these people. And Emily, maybe you can sort of try and sketch in your world. And Vivian's doing the bark of the tree. I think it makes sense to get
Yeah.
the rainbow painted.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
blue and the white.
So
and
are we
the
gonna
yellow.
put down the letters after? Yeah, after it all dries and stuff.
Do you think that'll work?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll probably work.
In the actual painting of the mural.
See what Jillian's doing. She's
Oh, that was awesome.
Whoa!
Isn't it for the tongue? Yeah. And you can always add more. First we're gonna paint it and then like, we might put like white in it.
Unless you think we shouldn't, because it has a nice solid edge right now. Eliza, are you gonna paint in the symbol,
Yeah.
and then you've got to wait till it dries before you do the people.
Yeah, you see the problem.
All right, what color paint do you want for that symbol?
I don't know, I couldn't decide.
And how have the children responded?
I think the most rewarding part of the project was when I was able, at the end, to drive through town and I could see a bunch of these, and I could see there were like-minded people all around town, and they were all doing this one thing, visualizing peace.
Others express similar sentiments.
It just made me more aware of what's going on in the world and how important peace is.
I like the point that we were sort of trying to make peace in the world, and that's a very important thing.
Well, I think the most rewarding part of the project was when we were finished. When we put it up in front of the bushes and people who drive by, and they said, "Wow, that looks like a nice piece of art." I think it's cool to see the other ways people express peace and just seeing all the creative ways.
It doesn't take an adult to make peace. Kids are half of the world, and kids should take over that half and show that everybody needs peace.
An idea that has developed in the mind of one man, one group, is spreading through the handiwork of young people who have learned to work together to produce a project of hope. Murals that inspire us to rethink how we deal with each other, that inspire us to put aside the tactics of conflict and war, that inspire us to a better way of life. All through the eyes and hands and minds of our youngest citizens.
Being involved in this type of experience, Merle has had many memories and has been involved with many different people to assist along the way.
And I don't want to leave the program without saying that it wasn't just myself that was involved in this. There's been a lot of people who have contributed to it and who keep it moving. And they're as important to the program as I was in terms of getting it started.
We're going to travel around Amesbury, Massachusetts and take a look at some of the murals that are on display in front of churches, schools, and other organizations. And we're going to let Merle tell us about some of them.
The mural that you're looking at was created by a school here in Amesbury, but it's at the, as we said earlier, the Episcopal Church. A very unfortunate event happened in western Massachusetts last year when a girl whose mother brought her here from a different country, and she was bullied by the students that were looking at her as a new person in their community, and she committed suicide. And that created a lot of attention across the state. And so the state Department of Education spearheaded a program that requires every school system in the state to have a formal program to try to control and eliminate violence. And bullying is one of the most prevalent ways that kids use against one another in terms of hurting or laughing at them if they're different. And hopefully it's going to make a difference. Well, this mural is unique in that it was created by 3 groups of people. And it's located at the Senior Center, the new building that was opened earlier this year for all kinds of senior citizens programs. And it was created by a group of high school students at Amesbury High School and some developmentally youth that were in a private school here, as well as some adults in the Senior Center. And the man who was in charge of it insisted on trying to get agreement from this 3-group group to agree on how the mural will appear. And it took about 8 or 9 different sessions for them to work through this process and come up with what you're looking at right now. And it's unique to see what happens when groups of people get together and talk about peace and how they picture it. It really is a fascinating experience to see them work and how they come together and really form a new little community of people engaged in one effort, how to picture in color what peace looks like or what it appears to them to be. The mural that you're looking at right now was created by at the First Religious Society Unitarian in Newburyport, Massachusetts. This church does a new mural every year, and the one that you're looking at right now involves the thought that all people need, regardless of who they are or what color they are, they all need peace and less violence. And so this is an example of their interpretation of that. And there's another mural on the other side which involved at least 60 youngsters in this religious congregation.
Merle, I would imagine that this type of experience is something that's just not limited to the children, and would be a great opportunity for kids of all ages.
I'm thinking, you know, we're all kids. I'm 88 going on 89. I still think I'm a kid. And there's no reason why adults who are living there at Cross Keys can't do a mural. And my goal is to get them activated and get them moving, and hopefully it'll spread to other Brethren home communities and even further than that. We all need peace, and we all need to do something about the violence that we are living with in our country.
Merle and his wife are currently living here at Cross Keys Village. It's a wonderful retirement community. Over 1,000 people live here in the village in all types of care. There are single-family homes, there are apartments, there are cottages, there is nursing care for people that need that type of care. And it's on over 300 acres here in southern Pennsylvania. It's located probably 15 to 20 miles west of York, Pennsylvania. Coming from the other direction, Gettysburg is maybe 12 to 15 miles to the west. And if you ever get a chance to come to Cross Keys Village, come and check it out. You can also check it out on their website, www.crosskeysvillage.org. And as far as Kids as Peacemakers, check out their website. It's located at www.kidsaspeacemakers.org. And thanks for joining us on Brethren Voices. This is Ed Groff, wishing you peace.
Into a plow. Gonna beat my sword into a plow. Christ is king in my life now. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin with me. All those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod, all those who tread the path he trod shall be called the friends of God. May his peace begin with me. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. Oh, the Jesus way is the way of peace. When he is king, all wars will cease. May his peace begin